Love the sex. Good evening. Thank you for coming tonight. This microphone's largely for the online crowd. If you're joining us online, welcome to Trinity. We're glad that you could watch this. The evening has several reasons behind it. One is that we have such an incredible talent at this church musically, and it's so nice to finally gather together and listen to all of the talent that is here. The other reason that you're aware of is that this piano right here needs more than a great deal of work. And so throughout the night, we will talk about both how the piano works and what is causing it not to work and what we might be looking at in the future. So we are very thankful that you came tonight. If you didn't pick one of these envelopes up on the way in, this is just a simple survey about purchasing a piano where we want your opinion before we move forward. And it is my experience that if you do not hand these in when you leave, we probably will not get them back. So please just take the time. It's a very short survey. Fill it in and put it in the basket. There'll be people at the back with baskets to receive these when you leave. And for those of you who are visiting Trinity, welcome. We're so glad that you're here, and we hope that you enjoy this marvelous evening. And it would be remiss of me not to ask you to especially thank Sharon, because out of all this music tonight, except for one piece that I think, she doesn't lead the piano. So thank you so much. The one? Yes. Yeah, I'll do that. So without further ado, let's have some music.
So our first piece is a song of praise to God, because that's what this is about. We use our piano for many things, but have the mic on. Steve, you have it. Our first piece is a song of praise to God, and I think that is the most important reason for us to be here. And so, here we go.
only is Sharon sitting at the piano all night, but now you're going to get to hear her with her exquisite vocal talents on this song. Unforgettable.
Thank you, Sharon and Ken. Enjoyed that very much. And thank you all for coming here tonight on a rainy day. Appreciate it. And I especially want to thank God for inventing music. When you think about it, what would our lives be like if it wasn't for music? Music has always been a part of my life ever since I can't even remember that far back. But it has brought me much joy and also comfort all of these years. And I really thank God that I had a chance for all the different experiences that occurred during those times. But I have to say that it wasn't until I was retired that the Lord surprised me by giving me something else. I was never a music major. I majored in, can you believe this, zoology. Do you even know what it is? Google it, zoology. And I'm not a composer, but the Lord started giving me some songs and sometimes waking me up in the middle of the night, or when I was driving the car, I would get a tune and a melody. And I don't know how to write poems either, so it was a surprise when I started doing that. This particular song is just one of, I guess maybe I'm up to maybe 25 or 30 songs by now over the last 20 years. And it came after a particularly difficult time, and you've all gone through those difficult times, and you know what it's like. And sometimes it's so overwhelming that you can't even think straight. and you get finally through the valley, away from the shadows, and you can look back and see that God truly was with you the whole time. And so this song is to remind us of that fact. God promised he would always be with us. He would never leave us alone. And so that's what this song says, and I hope you'll enjoy it. And I thank particularly Pastor Philip for joining me in singing it tonight.
As Ellie gets ready, I invite you to pray with me. Let us pray. Most gracious Heavenly Father, we do give you thanks for the beauty of music and for the opportunity to praise you through it. And we give you thanks not just for music, but for the promise that you are with us through all of the things that we face in this life. And help us to remind those whom we care for that not only is God with them, so are we. And so help us to be there for our loved ones and to point them back to you every time that they need to see you. Amen.
Through your trials, through all your doubts and worries, sad times, bad times, when things go wrong, look around you, you never were alone, for I've been here all along. Don't you know I have promised you that I would always be there? It was I who provided for you. I answered every prayer. Turn to me and I'll fill you with my peace. You're in my care now, where you belong. Trust me, seek me in everything you do, for I love you. You'll never be alone. Remember, I have been here all along. Trust me, seek me in everything you do, for I love you. You'll never be alone. Remember, I have been here all along. For I love you, you'll never be alone. Remember, I have been here all along.
Jesus said, "Lo, I am with you always, even to the end of the age." The first two pieces from a song cycle called Songs of Travels by Rafe Vaughan Williams.
Give to me the life I love, let the lave go by me. Give the jolly heaven above, and the byway nigh me. Bed in the bush with stars to see, bread I dip in the river. There's the life for a man like me. There's the life forever. Let the blow fall soon or late, let what will be o'er me. Give the face of earth around, and the road below me. Wealth I seek, not hope, nor love, nor a friend to know me. All I seek, the heaven above, and the road below me. Oh, let autumn fall on me, where afield I linger, silencing the bird on tree, biding the blue finger. White as meal the frosty field, warm the fireside haven. Not to autumn will I yield, not to winter even. Let the blow fall soon or late, let what will be o'er me. Give the face of earth around, and the road below me. Wealth I seek, not hope, nor love, nor a friend to know me. All I seek, the heaven above, and the road below me. Let beauty awake in the morn from beautiful dreams, beauty awake from rest. Let beauty awake for beauty's sake, in the hour when the birds awake from the break, and the stars are bright in the west. Let beauty awake in thee from the slumber of day, awake in the crimson eve, in the day's dark end, when the shades ascend. Let awake to the kiss of a tender friend, to render again
There will be a time for questions after the concert about the piano and about the pieces, and perhaps she will share with you how hard it is to play this particular piece on this piano at this particular time.
But the piano technician had asked me, he said, it's really hard to play soft on this piano, isn't it? And I said, yeah. Playing softly takes arm weight, and it's the speed that you go into the keys, and it's just really hard to play softly on this instrument because the key distance of travel is less over the years. When a piano tuner comes, sometimes they will voice the hammers. That takes, Ellie, could you bring me the key model there? These are called hammers on the piano, and they're made out of a really dense felt. And so to voice them, they take needles and they prick it so that it loosens up a bit, but over the years they also have to file them down. So obviously over time, you can only file so far before there's nothing left, or it's extremely dense. So that's one of the problems with this piano. David's piece later, when I played with him, is the most difficult piece on his program. There are moments in the piece where you're playing repeated notes at more than 6 times per second. When the mechanism doesn't pop back up, it doesn't go down fast. It's just, this particular model of Steinway, they were using a Teflon bushing in some of these little tiny areas. And over the year, green gunk has built up around the Teflon bushings. They don't use those anymore. But that is part of the thing that is causing the friction that it will not respond as fast as it needs to. So that makes it difficult. And I'll give you the 3 options that I had when we get to David's piece of what to do to make his piece work. Now we're going to turn to the king of instruments, and Jack is going to play for us. And part of it is you have to sing too. So there's in your program it tells you what hymn number that we're going to use and what verses. So
yes, so you would look at your program. The third piece in this set you will need your hymn number. And the hymn number is there, 731. Notice that we're not doing the 4th verse. We're doing 1, 2, 3, and 5. If you do the 4th verse, I will win.
The next piece on our program is called Retsang, and it's from the Jewish liturgy. A translation of the words is, "Accept Adonai, our God, your people, and their prayer. Restore the worship to the inner sanctuary of your house." I worked for many years at a Jewish synagogue in addition to the church that I was in. And this was actually one of my solos, but Max was coveting my solo for years. So, so now he's going to sing it.
It is a
for
joy
you.
to do.
I lift my eyes, the cloud grows thin, I see the blue above it, and day by day this pathway smooths, since first I learned to love it. The peace of Christ makes fresh my heart, a fountain ever springing. All things are mine, since I am His. How can I keep from singing? What though my joys and comfort die, the Lord my Saviour liveth. What though the darkness gather round, songs in the night He giveth. No storm can shake my inmost calm, while to the rock I'm clinging. Since Christ is Lord of heaven and earth, how can I keep from singing? I lift my eyes, the cloud grows thin, I see the blue above it, and day by day this pathway smooths, since first I learned to love it. The peace of Christ makes fresh my heart, a fountain ever springing. All things are mine, since I am His. How can I keep from singing? All things are mine, since I am His. How can I keep from singing?
Now for a couple of tunes that I think are some of the most beautiful tunes in the world. Simple but wonderful.
What should I try? Should I paint pictures? Should I sing songs? Here was her wise reply. Que sera, sera. Whatever will be, will be. The future's not ours to see. Que sera, sera. When I grew up and fell in love, I asked my sweetheart, what will there be? Will there be rainbows day after day? Here's what he said to me. Que sera, sera. Whatever will be, will be. The future's not ours to see. Que sera, sera. What will be, will be. Now I have children of my own. They ask their mother, what will there be? Will there be rainbows day after day? I tell them tenderly. Que sera, sera. Whatever will be, will be. The future's not ours to see. Que sera, sera. What will be, will be. Que sera, sera.
David's coming up to play this piece, and he's going to tell you some more about it. Before he does, I talked earlier about the repeated notes in this piece. And there were three options in how to deal with the repeated notes of this piece. One is to leave out notes. The second is to slow the tempo down, but he's playing a wind instrument. Do you know what that does to him? The third option is to try to play it at speed, but do you know what that does to me? It hurts. So, David, would you like to tell us about this piece?
I'd be glad to. Thank you, Sharon.
You want to get closer to the mic?
Yes. This piece was written by somebody called Johann Friedrich Foch, and he lived at the end of the Baroque period. What he's known for is paving the way for composers such as Mozart and Haydn. This style is in the Rococo style. It's a light form, getting away from the full polyphonic textures of the Baroque music, yet you'll still hear some of those traditional sounds. So we hope you enjoy Foch's three-movement concerto in D.
Next, my wonderful page turner is going to play for us. No. Well, applaud him. This next piece, I think it was Smith Chaney who, one Sunday morning, he said that he heard something on NPR that he thought I might like, or Rick and I might like, and so we've learned it. And so we're going to play it for you.
Let me make sure I'm in the same ballpark as you. We thought we'd like to have a little fun with you tonight. So I'm going to start this Thais meditation on another instrument before I play it on this one. It's another violin. let's try the other instrument. This will be your new piano.
So we do want to spend some time with questions and answers. What Rick was trying to show you is you've got two violins that have two very different capabilities for sound and tone and quality, and it's the same for the piano. You've got a beautiful instrumentalist who can bring incredible things out of this instrument. But imagine what you could do with one that had so much more capability, like that violin, the difference between those two. Fantastic instrumentalists, two different instruments. There's only so far you can take the instrument. So thank you for demonstrating that. And I don't know, I'm going to turn this over to Sharon for question and answers because I got no answers for you. But I do want you to know that it's really important that you fill out those surveys. There will be some of you who want to leave and write a check. So if you want to do that to help us purchase a new piano, just write piano in the memo line so that our treasurers know how to direct those funds. Now I'll turn it over to Sharon and turn it over to you for questions and answers. And before we do that, please thank all the musicians for their time and talent.
Questions? Yes, Carol.
Can our donation be given a lump sum or can it be given monthly?
Rich?
Any way you want to give.
Lump sum multiple times.
67 years. And so think about any piece of equipment you would use in your job. How many of you have 67-year-old pieces of equipment in your job? Pianos, I looked it up, I asked Siri. I said, how long does a grand piano usually last? And the answer was, depending on how it was made. The handmade pianos will last from 50 to 100 years if you have maintained them well. They may need some work on them, but they will last that long. The factory ones don't last that long. And there are very few companies now that are making the handmade pianos, and Steinway is one of those. And I will tell you, I've been shopping for pianos, and I didn't go looking for a Steinway. I have a Schimmel in my house that I absolutely adore, and I went to looking for that because it's a German handmade piano, or at least it was when I bought mine. But Yamaha has since acquired the factory, and it doesn't have the quality anymore. I looked at Bosendorfer's, and there was a really nice one. But again, Jack told me Yamaha is acquiring the factory. It will not hold its value if that's the case. Yamaha does great electronics, and they have a lot, they have good pianos. I'm not saying that they're not good pianos, but the quality is just not the same.
What size?
This is a 5'7", which is considered a baby grand. Anything under 6 foot is considered a baby grand. Anything.
The one you're going to get is?
The one that we would like to purchase is a 7 foot, which is, it's not, there are 9 foots, which are your concert grands, but a 7 foot is a very nice instrument and would do wonderful things in the space.
You will not believe the difference that 2 extra feet of length of string makes in the sound of the instrument, but also the stability of it. Mm-hmm. We have at home, we have a baby grand, and the tuners tell you that, and although we're lucky because ours is an L, which has a wider base, so more of the strings are longer. But the shorter the string, the more often you have to tune it and maintain it because the strings they're just not able to hold the pitch correctly. So a 7 foot is really a very nice, perfect size for a room like this.
We've had a couple of things done to this instrument since I have been here, and I've been here less than 2 years. One, we added a damp chaser system, which takes out humidity or adds humidity as necessary. This is a very dry room in the winter, and that soundboards can crack if they get too dry. And so the system adds a little bit of humidity so that it doesn't crack and it stays in tune better. It's not perfect, but it does stay in tune better. We also had a stopgap measure to take out some of the green goop that I described earlier, to clean it out. He took the action and had it for a whole week and cleaned that out. But it's only a stopgap measure because it comes back. So, other questions? Yes?
For people who might be wondering, could you explain, I know we have an electronic organ instead of a pipe organ. Could you explain why we want a real piano instead of an electronic piano?
May I answer that?
Oh, no, let me.
Okay, and then, because then I have another answer on top of that one.
Do you want me to stay here? I think electronic pianos have a great value in some instances. They're great for transporting and playing in outdoor venues and things. But I will never think that an electronic piano can even come close to this. It doesn't have the touch, the sensitivity, the resonance. There's just so many things. Right?
But may I add to that? Electronic, at best, is two-dimensional. At best. When you take a live instrument, you get a three-dimensional sound. Two experiences. One, while I was out fishing with a friend who was a flautist, and we were walking around this lake, and we heard a guitar. And he looked at me and he said, "That's not coming from a radio or a stereo, that's a live guitar." And I listened and I said, "You're right." We walked around, and of course it was. It's a different sound. It's totally different. And a friend of mine, many years ago in New York City, had a cat, and this cat hated any kind of live music, acoustic. Mm-hmm. You could play your stereo to blast it in the room. He would lay there very comfortable. You put one note on the piano, Max would sing one note or I'd play an instrument, he'd get up and leave the room. So that's proof that there is a distinct difference between those. And even the greatest stereo systems in the world cannot produce that live sound. So you would not believe the difference, and it's like putting something in a little box and amplifying it. Now, amplification is a great thing for a lot of things, but when you can get that acoustic, three-dimensional sound, there's nothing to compare to it.
Also, when the power goes out, I can still play the piano. We can still have worship. Max, yeah.
Here's a wild card question. While we're shopping, since organs were mentioned, why not shop for a pipe organ instead?
Just to know. Yes.
It's directed to Rich. How much more do you think we need for a new Steinway? Where did Rich go?
Rich is back there. Rich, did you hear the question?
I think we have 65,000, and I think there's more coming in. So the estimated amount to buy a Steinway is 120.
We have looked at a couple of used instruments that are gently used. The challenge with that is you have to be ready to buy immediately because they will get jumped on by somebody else. We've already had that experience.
So I'm coming up to repeat what he said, both for you, but also for the people online. They're not hearing the questions that are being asked. So the question that's being asked is what would be the cost of a new instrument? Roughly $120,000. We have 65 in hand. I know of another 5 coming in, and then there may be some more that has come in, which leads us, well, we're over halfway towards a new piano. I'll just stay up here and repeat questions unless you want to.
No.
I understand that there's another thing, excuse me, Sharon, I can't remember what it was, that needs to be
The damp chaser, that,
And is that included in that 120?
no. It's, it will probably cost between $600 and $1,200, I'm gonna say, because, yeah. And that just protects it, that keeps it regulated.
Are there other expenses associated with?
We will probably need to purchase the
dolly.
the dolly that goes under it so that we can roll it around easily. Right.
So the question that was asked for those of you who are online was twofold. One was, is the damp chaser that Sharon mentioned included in the price? And it's not, and it's somewhere between $600 and $1,200. Not having a damp chaser on this instrument is part of what caused it to decay faster. And that's part of regular maintenance that you should do. If you drive your car 10,000 miles before you do an oil change, and you do that for a while, you'll notice a difference in your car and it'll quit running. The same thing with the piano. Bad analogy, but regular maintenance is necessary for a smooth running machine. So the damp chaser, and the second question was there anything else to purchase? There's a dolly upon which the piano sits. This one obviously is going to be too short for the next piano, so we'll have to get one of those.
So what are you going to do with this piano if you get a brand new? Where does it go?
What will we do with this piano is the question.
If we purchase a piano from a dealership, this can be traded in for roughly $5,000 to $10,000, we're told. We don't know the exact amount yet. And so the sticker price on the piano was like $125,000 or $126,000. So we were deducting that $5,000 when Rich said $120,000.
Do you think they'll take the roller also when you move it? Will they purchase that from you too?
It will probably go with it. I don't know that it will add a great deal to the value, or we can take it off and sell it online on eBay or whatever. Yeah. Yes.
Can any of that $120,000 cost be financed?
The question?
Is there a market for
You can repeat the question if you want.
pianos?
The question was, can any of the $120,000 be financed? And of course, it's a lot like buying a car. The answer is definitely yes.
But there's a cost to finance it.
You know, Steinway runs specials sometimes at 0% financing for 2 years. It just, you know.
If your credit rating is good enough, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think our bylaws allow us to finance a piece of equipment.
Well, there's your answer. Yes, sir.
So you find one, we have the money, what would be the time frame for the turnaround?
If we have the money, if it's a used one, then immediately. It would need to be immediately. If it's a new one, if we had the money, that's a tricky question because I don't know how many are actually in stock. I was told today that the one in Greensboro was sold. I was looking at the one in Charlotte. So they probably still have one, but they always have to have one on the floor. So it may not be until January before we could get one. I'm told that the Steinway inventory is really low. It takes a year to make one of those. And so they pre-sell quite, frequently.
Are there differences in brand new ones as you get the same model? They have different sounds. Do you need to play it before you buy it, or?
Every piano, at least the handmade ones, are unique because, every piece of wood is unique. They are able to tweak things to make them sound really good, and they will get it in our environment because also every environment, the humidity and size of the room, and so it will get tweaked even after it comes in and it sits a while and it gets to know its location. So yes, everyone is different, and it's optimal if you can go and play and pick the one that you want. Other questions? Yes, Gail.
Who makes the decision about whether to go ahead with this?
What was the question?
Who makes the decision on about whether to go ahead with this?
That is part of why we have the survey, to make sure that you are, at least those of you who are here today, to get your thoughts about the purchasing of a new piano, and that'll guide us towards moving forward. You know, granted, we've already have over half the money to purchase it, but this is your instrument. So we want to make sure that that's something that's very valuable to you. So the short answer is you all will ensure whether or not we buy a piano, because if we don't have the money, we don't get it. So that's part of it. The other part is that once we have the money, we need to approve a larger purchase like that through the proper channels, and that's very easy for us to do.
Thank you all. Thank you for coming.
I guess I shouldn't have.